RFK Jr.'s second MAHA report raises some really important issues, from ultra processed foods to food dyes to autism, but it really doesn't provide a clear path forward. In this video, I'm going to talk about what these important issues are and my take on it, but also how my Making Healthy Kids approach is providing real solutions. So let's talk about it. Hey everybody, I'm Dr. David Berger, a board-certified pediatrician in Tampa, Florida. Today we're going to be talking about the Make America Healthy Again report that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has put forth, and really all the different aspects, and there's a lot to it. And in fact, there's so much information that I'm going to be recording 2 videos. So this one, I'm going to be talking about the positive ideas that have been put forth. But in the second one, I'm going to talk about where I feel that the report falls short on things like toxic chemicals, fluoride, just missed opportunities overall. So I'm glad to see that there are some fresh proposals in here, but as I said, we need more. So let's get into it, all right? Now, first of all, ultra processed foods. And certainly, if you've been watching this channel or paying attention, you know that ultra processed foods has become really a big problem. Not that we haven't been exposed to them forever, because we have, but now that we're learning about them and how much they can impact our intestinal lining, what the different types of chemicals may actually be doing to our bodies, and more importantly, our children's bodies. And so what they're wanting to do as part of this report, what the proposal is to create a federal definition for ultra processed foods in order to provide guidance on labeling, on school meals and research. And I think that this is a great idea. But right now, there is something which is called the NOVA reporting system. It's a research system, actually, for classifying food by levels of processing. But it's not a legal standard. And without having a formal legal definition about what ultra processed foods are, companies can still be putting ultra processed foods or ultra processed ingredients into foods, and they can still call it legal. They can still call it healthy, I meant to say. And we need to have a clear definition of that, because really the only way that we're going to know for sure is to have these types of labeling proper, easily to access the information. So I realize it's good and that we all need clarity about it. But from my perspective, yes, this would help clarify so much and help people really get the information they need very much quickly. However, we need a solution now. What's the best thing we can do? We can avoid ultra processed foods by focusing on whole, minimally processed foods. We can be looking at ingredients on package labels. Can we pronounce all of them? Are they a bunch of chemicals? If they're a bunch of chemicals, most likely that's a pretty ultra processed food. And we can also be looking for other types of just artificial ingredients, additives in general, if you know what the keywords are. So I would say let's not wait until this federal standard gets put forth, which again, I greatly appreciate it. Let's make the changes now with what we choose on our own purchase power. Now, another thing that they go into is marketing to children, which of course we know that this is a big deal, that kids are getting access to marketing and to ads much more so than ever because of not just what they see on TV, but also what they see on social media and however else they may be exposed. So what they're wanting to do, as what the report is proposing, is to limit the marketing of unhealthy food to children. Now, the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, itself has limited authority to do that. And it really relies on voluntary compliance with the companies. And it does encourage restaurants and companies to promote healthier options. And we've even seen, these things such as putting on menus, calorie count, nutritional count. You can look up on a lot of companies' websites more information about the details. And so they're very justified for doing this. Kids are vulnerable to advertising, as we've said. And we know that when they do get exposed to these foods that are unhealthy, there's really lifelong habits that are being established. And we know the connection for developing obesity, for chronic diseases overall. So again, we need to make sure that our kids are eating healthy. So again, from my perspective, we need to reduce the harmful ads. We need to reduce the harmful exposures, but we need to be making decisions on our own at home with what our purchasing power can do. Now, we need to teach our children how ads can influence them. But we also need to teach their kids what healthy eating is about in the first place, and why we don't want to put these types of substances in our body if we want to be healthy, if they want to be healthy. This is about empowering the kids, not by what they're influenced from what they see, but what the real facts are that us as parents, as teachers, as the community can teach them. That should be the influence. Now, in terms of food dyes, a lot of what was in this report was actually regurgitated from the first report that was done back in the spring, which again is great. I'm glad that they're re-emphasizing it. And they called specifically for the revocation of two dyes, one called citrus red number 2, one that's called orange B. But these are actually obsolete. They're not really in circulation anymore. And they reiterated their concerns over red dye number 40, yellow dyes number 5 and 6, blue dye number 1 and 2, green dye number 3. And the FDA is also will be fast tracked to approve natural alternatives that are more natural. I did a whole video on this that you can go back and see in details. And again, they're very justified with calling this out. We know that there are health concerns, hyperactivity, allergic reactions, but developmental issues as well. And it's really tough for families because to be able to track all of this on their own, they're being bombarded with information. They're being bombarded by the advertisings as well. So we really need to just make this kind of action ourselves, make this happen at a federal level. But again, what can we be doing? We can be reading labels. Are we seeing lists of artificial food colorings, artificial colors, other additives? And again, we need to be pushing and looking for foods that have natural colored colorings to that are found more in whole foods. Okay, but we need to just try to remove these from our kids. That's the best thing that we can do going forward. This is something that we can be doing today. So yay for the government, yay for putting more information out there. Hopefully we'll be seeing public service announcements and all that. But that's also something that we are doing, that our group is doing. We're not waiting. We're taking action now. We're needing to get the information out there now. Now, another really interesting thing that they've talked about, and I certainly applaud, is big data relative to autism. And they have, and what right now, they want the NIH, the National Institute of Health, to integrate electronic medical records, insurance claims, even wearable devices. And they're calling this Autism Data Science Initiative, which is great to bring that initiative up. And really, autism, it's the centerpiece for this, but the framework is also calling for work relative to obesity, diabetes, allergies, and more. This is very justified because right now, we are not, as a country, collecting good data. It's fragmented, bits and pieces and patterns, but really, we're not going to catch big patterns. We're not going to catch big risks unless a systemic database is put forth that's really collecting data the way we need it to. Because we need this in order for earlier detection and for better prevention. So again, some of this stuff, of course, is not going to come out right away, but the databases need to be built. But still, a lot of what they're proposing, it's disease tracking after the fact. It's not focusing so much on prevention the way that they're reporting it. And it's really missing data about all the different toxic exposures, nutrition, lifestyle, lab tests, and also, of course, we want to make this from preconception to infancy tracking. We should be checking these on women before they even get pregnant. So really, starting in the high school and early college to college age years when these are becoming the next parents. So what is it that we're trying to do, though? We want to build an absolute database that covers for all of this. We have a team in play to do this, but also for it to be a prevention focused database, so we really can dig into the deep side of this. That's why we are also offering and wanting to train physicians and other clinicians in our preconception to infancy, making healthy kids approach. And our database is going to be leading that, because these physicians, if they become certified and learn about what we're doing, they can also be entering their own patients into a giant database. And the more patients that we have in a database, the more that we can research with bigger, stronger numbers. So we want to collect all the data, but we also let whether it's federal researchers, private researchers, go in and look at the data, look at all of the exposures, look at the nutritional values that can be measured and the outcomes from them. right? That's how we can really sort through. But we have to have a giant database for this. Otherwise, the amount of information may not be enough to draw scientific, statistically significant solutions. So we're doing that. We're really happy for that. Again, we're building this as we speak. And hopefully we will get this information in the next few years that we can do the real data mining that needs to be done. So, but of course, in the meantime, on our own, we have to be on top of all of this stuff. And again, that's what Making Healthy Kids, what our P2I initiative, preconception to infancy, is all about. All right. So overall, I'm really glad that progress is being made for all of these different types of issues that we talked about here. And we can celebrate this. This is worthy of celebration, that these steps, that positive steps being taken that are moving forward. But again, there's still gaps. That's why I need you to be following this YouTube channel, subscribing, sharing this information, going out into the world and sharing the information. And as I said at the beginning, I'm going to be making another video soon, and that's going to be where I explain where the report actually does fall short in some other areas. So, have a nice day.